Today, I want to share with you 3 lessons that I feel like young me can teach current me about what is wrong with my current luxury shopping habits. As in, you know how sometimes we joke about being young, dumb, and broke? Well, maybe we weren't as dumb as we thought we were. Looking back, I actually think I got several things right at the beginning of my luxury buying days that I have since forgotten or drifted away from. And moving forward, I want to do my darndest to relearn some of these good habits because I think my relationship with money and material things in general was much healthier back then than it is now, and it's time to fix that. Welcome back to a briefcase of luxury, where we love to chat about all things related to life, learning, and luxury. While I have no intentions of quitting my day job as a business professor, I would love to continue to grow this channel, so thank you for being here today. Lesson number 1, young me knew the value of $1, which meant young me took each purchase I made very seriously. Now, by the way, let me clarify that young me in this case refers to early 20-year-old me, fresh out of undergrad, making my first steady paycheck at some entry-level corporate job, still trying to figure out how to pay rent, groceries, etc., while having a penchant for wanting some of the finer things in life, like wanting the satisfaction of buying my very first designer handbag. And looking back now, I can safely say that the feeling as though I can finally afford the things I wish I could afford back then is the worst thing to have ever happened to me when it comes to creating unhealthy shopping habits. Now, I don't want to sound ungrateful. My husband and I have worked our butts off to get to where we are career-wise in order to have our current lifestyle. And so, yeah, in many ways, our quality of life is so much better now than when we first started dating. The feeling of not having to worry about living paycheck to paycheck is very liberating, and I wish for everyone to get to that stage of financial peace. But if you can imagine that back when I was living paycheck to paycheck, I still prioritized saving up for a designer bag or two, you can imagine the danger of what can happen when I feel like I no longer have to work half as hard to save up for a designer bag, and how quickly that mentality can get out of hand. And I'm gonna be honest, it's gotten out of hand because now I've fallen into this trap of constantly buying and constantly selling at a loss. Like, I don't think young me would have been down for that because I knew how hard $1 was to come by, and I wasn't going to squander it on something I wasn't 100% sure of. I wasn't going to squander it on something that I didn't want to keep long term. Like, I bought things with the general notion that the money is gone. Nowadays, I buy things with the notion that the money's kind of gone. Some of it I can always get back if I choose to resell it. But if I were to count up the exact dollar amount I have lost selling bags when I was done with them, young me would have been ashamed. So we have to end that cycle. Lesson number 2, young me knew how to appreciate the finer things in life. With this whole Murakami collection madness, it really did get me thinking about how I used to use and pretty much abuse my very few, very precious designer items. So as you can imagine, each piece that I eventually brought home, be it the multicolored clutch or my very first Gucci bag or Louis Vuitton bag, and not to get too far off track, those are the bags I have the earliest recollection of actually buying in my early 20s, versus bags that I just mentioned wanting in my previous video. Oh, and surprisingly, I still have 2 out of these 3 bags. I still use my Louis Vuitton locket bag for work, and I still use my Gucci bag for road trips. Like, I distinctly remember that Gucci bag being around $700 or so, and the locket bag may have been around $700-800 as well. Plus, this was like the go big or go home era, right? But each of these pieces were bought for their intended purpose, to be used. So on one hand, you would think I would have been extra precious with them, making sure that they're kept safe and tucked away in their box and their dust bag, and using them sparingly because they were so expensive and took me months to save up for. But no, that was never the case. That wasn't even something that crossed my mind. I really had a very simple mindset. I bought them because I wanted to use them, period. They did not serve me one bit being tucked away in my closet. Life was so simple back then, and I just just desperately need to get back to that mindset today. Like, why am I buying bags that are too precious for me to use? Why am I buying bags that don't fit my lifestyle? Why am I spending so much money on bags that are just for me to look at? Can't I just look at them online? Like, what is the difference at this point? So I think there's an important distinction between admiring the finer things in life and just appreciating the finer things in life. Like, oh my gosh, to be able to buy a white handheld handbag again and not think twice about the wear and tear, like that must be such a liberating feeling. And finally, lesson number 3, young me didn't aspire to be a handbag collector because, to be perfectly frank, young me didn't have the funds to be a collector and to buy things just for the sake of wanting to buy and own certain things. Yet young me couldn't afford that mindset to luxury. But especially since the pandemic and the lockdown, I think we have all developed aspirations to dabble in being amateur collectors. By all, I'm making an assumption that if you are watching this type of content, then you are either morbidly curious about how people can be so careless with their money, or more likely you like handbags just as much as I do and you want to buy and collect them to some degree. You get a sense of contentment when you look in your closet and either see a complete rainbow set of colors, styles, brands, or maybe you have certain sets of items you want to collect, like the Hermes Trinity, the holy grails of each brand, or each size of the Chanel Classic Flap, or every type of Louis Vuitton canvas. Whatever it is, it is more common now than ever to adopt collector tendencies when it comes to designer handbags. And this is something I need to relearn as well. I think I fell victim to this mentality during the pandemic as well, because prior to that, I was happy with my extremely small, extremely functional bag collection. I maybe had at most maybe about 5 designer handbags pre-pandemic, and now I'm honestly too scared to count. And while I'm financially at a completely different place compared to back in my 20s, even compared to the beginning of the pandemic, 4 to 5 years ago, I'm personally not at that financial stage for me to be a serious collector. I know for sure there are people out there that can buy a $20,000 pre-loved Mini Kelly 3 times a day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the rest of their lives and still be financially at peace. That's fantastic. That's not me. That will never be me, quite realistically. So I just need to stop prioritizing buying bags that I simply don't need. I seriously need to get rid of that collector mentality. So at this stage in my life, these are the 3 lessons or habits that I feel like I need to relearn right now. And not to get off tangent, all in all, I would say that a lot of these unhealthy habits were brought on by the boom of the pre-loved market. And this was a surprising, unintended consequence of me becoming more comfortable with the idea of buying and selling bags on the pre-loved market. I mean, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the sustainability aspect of it and the fact that the pre-loved market has matured so much over the years. Like, I feel safer now than ever in the past buying and selling designer items pre-loved. But like I said, the unintended side effect of doing so has made me a little less intentional about the things I'm bringing home, because there's always that safety net that if it doesn't work out, it's not all money down the drain. But in having that mentality, I'm probably more likely to take risks on things I wouldn't have taken risk on before, and I would have thought much more carefully about in the past. So yeah, because the pre-loved market was practically non-existent when I was in my 20s, that type of loosey-goosey attitude just wasn't an option. Also, back then, we just called it for what it was, right? It was secondhand, it was thrifted, it was used, but the market has definitely gotten a facelift and a reputation boost since then. So yeah, lots have changed since I started to buy luxury, but I still feel like these lessons are ones I very much need to relearn today. So let me know down in the comments whether or not your buying habits have shifted over the years, and was this shift for better or for worse? If you have lessons that you would like to share as well, please do so in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for sticking around until the end. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And I can't wait to catch up with you next time.